Okay, hey you guys. So I know that we have been gone for a long time. That is mostly my fault, and there's like a very long list of reasons why, and I'm about to get into that right now. So grab a cup of water, a cup of tea, whatever it is. I guess this could be called tea with Brie, but it's been so long since I've done that. A lot of you might not actually know what that is. So I'm gonna have some water. So I'm gonna just dive right in because this is very long-winded and I don't want to make a 90-minute video. So let's see. We kind of just stopped filming. Most of that is just because I didn't want to. And I can say, I had a lack of time, which is true, but there were just so many factors that went into it. So obviously, if you have kept up with anything that we have posted, you'll see that I finished grad school, yay! So I'm now a master in nutrition. And so that was a huge part of it. I mean, I just had this massive amount of work and like papers to write and research to do and all sorts of stuff like that. That took up a good amount of my time. And then as part of finishing grad school, I also had to do a community experience project. And for that, I'll just tell you briefly, I work with a private dietetics practice, and I developed education material based on the principles of health at every size, intuitive eating, and just like body positivity and body acceptance. And I will go into that in greater detail, like probably in a future video, because a lot of the research and work that I did on that project really struck me, and it contributed to the fact that I didn't want to film videos where I'm telling people that I'm following a ketogenic diet. And so like that's like a whole nother story. But anyway, we'll get into that later. So in addition to all the school stuff, we of course are still in the middle of a pandemic. And yes, it's getting better by some accounts, but it's still crazy out there. I mean, there's still people who are marching at the state capitol where I live with rifles because nobody's gonna force them to put chemicals into their body. I obviously just got a Master of Science degree, so I heavily believe in science, and so we don't have to get into the vax and anti-vax stuff, but get your vaccination. Like, just be real. I also lost a grandparent, so my grandfather died, which is, I don't like, I don't know how to make this sound not callous, but like, he was old, so it was expected. So it wasn't this very big, like, grief-stricken thing, but it's just a thing that happened that is sad, that I couldn't go to the funeral. Like, it happened before I was vaccinated and before things started opening up a little bit more. So like, it was really difficult thinking about flying across the country, being unvaccinated. James has shared that, he has diabetes, so he's at a much higher risk. And so for me to go there and then to potentially bring that back, like, that's a lot. Add on to that the fact that the last time I flew across the country to go to a grandparent's funeral, my family was a little cold to me. And I don't mean my immediate family, but like my aunts and uncles and cousins. I don't know if any of them are watching this, but just, it was a little bit weird. And I know that people were processing their grief for my grandmother dying, but like, I honestly was a little insulted. Someone shook my hand and thanked me for coming, as if I were just some acquaintance of the family. And it was like, wow, okay. And so like, knowing that I was potentially gonna have to deal with that also, like once I got there, it was a lot mentally to take in. So that all happened. I also started a new job. Now this is, y'all, I don't even know what to tell you about this. All I know is we started school in January, and one of my professors who was my advisor was like, this is the time for everyone to start applying for jobs. Like, you're about to finish your master's degree. You know, you got to get yourself out there on the job market. So I'm like, cool, bet. I mean, I already have a job, so it's not a big deal. So I filled out an application, didn't think anything of it. And in fact, I will tell you that they asked for a cover letter, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I just don't believe in cover letters. That's just me, whatever. That's my soapbox moment. So I didn't do a cover letter. And I kind of was like, you know, if it happens, it happens. Well, they called me and they interviewed me, and then they called me back and asked for my references. And then they were like, well, how much do you make now? And I was like, I kind of generally don't believe in giving that information to an employer. Like, you pay me what you think the job is worth, and I'll let you know if I think that's appropriate. But again, it was super low stakes. So I was just kind of like, all right, cool, here's what I make. And they were like, cool, we can do you 20% better. And I was like, all right, I'll start when I graduate. And they were like, no, ma'am, you'll start when we tell you you'll start. And I was like, oh, okay. But, you know, it worked out because I ended up spending about 2 months almost, like 6 or 7 weeks training. So like before I got thrown into the job, I was training all the way up through graduation. I think like the week before graduation, I got like let go. Like, you are full, you're an employee now, like you're not in training anymore. So I started a new job. Pandemic style. So my interview, everything was on Zoom. I literally met my supervisor at the office building on the day of orientation to pick up my computer and my credentials and all that stuff. And then I drove back home. Now, that is to say that I started a new job in a new state. We are currently still working 100% remote. So I still live in North Carolina. But I don't work in North Carolina. The office is only 2 hours and 15 minutes away from where I live. So it's not bad. But it's like, it's in another state. I really have to like weigh, like, do I want to move there? Am I going to move there? Am I going to get a part-time apartment? And really what it came down to is I'm going to like move there for 1 day a week, or however many days I need to be in the office. I'm going to be in that city, but my primary residence is going to stay here. So figuring all of that out was a task on its own. And so when I started the new job, I would say it was about 4 days later, I came down with this mystery illness. Now, you guys, if I had a diagnosis, I would tell you what it was right now. But the truth is, there was never any diagnosis. When I originally started feeling sick, I thought I had food poisoning. And then it became this big like pain in my upper right quadrant, which ding, 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 if you know anything about like anatomy and physiology or whatever, you're automatically thinking like, ooh, could be, you know, the gallbladder, which is what my doctor originally thought. And so then they scheduled me for an ultrasound, and ultrasound showed that my gallbladder is totally fine. And I'm like, that can't be true. I felt terrible. It was painful. It was awful. And for weeks, I'm talking like 3 or 4 weeks, the only thing that I could eat was crackers. So, I mean, that's not keto. Because I thought it was my gallbladder, I had to eat like low fat. And I couldn't keep anything down besides crackers anyway. So I just ate crackers for 4 weeks. I would sometimes mix in like a chicken noodle soup, but it was not great. And so obviously jumped off of the low carb train there, but that was honestly okay with me. So the illness continued for probably 2 months, and I still have pain in the upper right quadrant, but it almost feels like it's a muscular pain. I don't know what the hell is wrong with me. I'm back to functioning. I can kind of like eat what I want now. I'm not just stuck to crackers anymore, but that took a huge toll on me. So like I spent a couple of weeks doing almost nothing, just laying on the couch, logging into my computer, doing research, working, like that's it. I couldn't do anything else. I had no energy, had no will to go on. And so that happened. on top of everything else. So it was just like things like piling and piling and piling and piling and piling. So where does that leave us? So I told you that I did my community experience project developing education materials on health at every size, intuitive eating, all that stuff. The intuitive eating part really resonated with me. And to me, I'm just, I like want to give a disclaimer, but I'm not even going to get into it right now. Like that'll be a separate video. To me, intuitive eating is a good guiding principle. And then a huge part of it is listening to your body. So for me personally, eating intuitively really does mean eating low carb. It does not mean eating keto because that's very restrictive, but I find that I feel better when I eat lower carb foods. That doesn't mean that I restrict myself to a certain thing or amount of carbs or anything like that. I have been having like this internal debate with myself, like, just, okay, as a side note, I have been trying so hard not to do that thing that I do where I make all these weird faces. Like, I don't know why I do that. I have always been that way. A lot of people think that I'm constantly rolling my eyes. I have no control over what my face is doing. So I've really been trying to work on that. And so I'm trying also not to look at myself in the viewfinder. So I apologize if I look crazy in this video. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So I've been having this internal debate with myself about, is it really intuitive eating if you also are like looking at basically tracking things? I'm not like interested in losing weight. Like intentional weight loss is not my goal. I am not interested in how large or small my body is. I'm interested in how intuitive eating actually impacts the body. So which is counter to the idea of intuitive eating, right? So I want to take measurements of my body and just see what happens. With no consequence though. If it gets bigger, that's fine. If it gets smaller, that's fine. I'm just genuinely, as a scientist, as a food scientist, curious what happens if I really truly lean into intuitive eating. And I think that if you are someone who is thinking about intuitive eating or who happened upon this video and does intuitive eating because of either disordered eating or an eating disorder, that might not be a good thing for you to do. You probably shouldn't be focusing on what actually happens to the size or shape of my body when I intuitively eat. I do not have an eating disorder. I have not suffered from an eating disorder in my life. I probably do have some sort of disordered eating just from being in diet culture, but mentally, I'm A-okay. Like I don't have hang-ups about things. I eat low carb or keto because I want to control my blood sugars, and the medication that they prescribe for it is not agreeable to me. I'm allergic to metformin. And just in general, most medications don't work well for me. So this was a alternative way to control my blood sugar for my insulin resistance. So it was never about the weight loss, although weight loss is kind of the easiest way to track how well you're doing on a low carb diet. So, that being said, I do want to kind of dive into some intuitive eating things as we move forward. And if you guys don't know about intuitive eating, I'm more than happy to like break it down and all of the steps and kind of like talk about it. I'm in no way an expert, but I have written some educational material about it, so I know a thing or two about it. But I'm happy to like dive into like kind of the concepts behind intuitive eating in separate videos. And then like just kind of show you guys the things that I do that are intuitive. And so a lot of it is not intuitive. A lot of the point of it is that you're not supposed to spend a great amount of time thinking about what to eat. Just eat what you want, right? And that doesn't mean eat everything all the time. Just eat what you want. Eat what feels good to you. But for the purposes of being kind of like a scientist and like helping to try to explain how the intuitive process is working, how I'm moving from when I used to be strict keto to low carb to just being an intuitive eater, but keeping a low carb sense of mind because that's what feels good to my body. Like, I kind of want to just show you guys, take you guys on that process. And I probably should have started filming this like as I was going through the mental gymnastics of, am I going to switch this? Am I going to keep it the same? But I didn't, because I had all those other things going on at the same time. And I couldn't. That's the truth about it, is I couldn't. I just didn't have the mental capacity or wherewithal to pick up the camera. But so I do want to say that I know intuitive eating is very in vogue right now, and I'm not trying to like capitalize on that at all. Like, I genuinely mean it, and I'm genuinely exploring it as a lifelong thing, not as I have scrolled through the YouTubes to look at some intuitive eating videos, and a lot of it feels like people are using intuitive eating as a diet, which is the opposite of what it is. So it feels like you picked up these words, intuitive eating, match them to what we're doing and saying, oh, I'm being intuitive, and here are my macros. And I'm not going to do that, because that's not what I'm genuinely trying to embrace the intuitive eating as it is meant to be embraced, with the caveat that I am a scientist at heart, and I really just am interested in tracking it. But the outcome doesn't matter. I just am genuinely curious. So with that, I will say that we also got a Peloton. If you follow us on Instagram, I think we Instagrammed it the day that it was delivered. If not, I probably should post those pictures. So we got a Peloton, and it's interesting. I definitely bought it because of FOMO. But I love it, actually. Haven't done a lot on it because I was ill when it was delivered. So I kind of just got on it to make sure I could get on it and the damn thing wasn't going to break. Because your girl definitely is over the weight limit for the Peloton, but ask me if I care. And just to make sure that like I could actually use it in a larger body. It is not a bike that is specifically built for larger bodies. And so just had to like kind of like take it for a test run. I just like 2 days ago started riding it seriously for fitness. And I do want to point out that in this intuitive eating health at every size journey, I am not riding the Peloton to lose weight. If I do lose weight on the Peloton, that is fantastic, I guess. I don't really care. But I, especially after having been very stagnant, sit still, laying on the couch for an entire pandemic, I do want to increase my physical stamina. And so that felt like a really good way to both cure my FOMO and to get in some exercise. I don't like going to the gym. I don't like going outside and walking or running. I do actually like running, but let's not talk about it right now. I don't like going outside. So this felt like a perfect way to kill two birds with one stone, right? I got to have the cool new toy, and I get to increase my physical fitness at my own convenience, at my own leisure. So I don't know. Do you guys want to see a fat girl ride a Peloton? I can talk about the Peloton. I can kind of like track my journey there. I can show you guys, my measurements, if it's going up or if it's going down, how I feel, which is probably the most important part of intuitive eating. And then like, what are my health goals? I don't know. But like, should we just dive into that? Should we just talk about that? I know that a lot of people who are watching this channel because we were low carb or keto or what have you. And I don't know, like, I feel like maybe it's kind of a letdown that I'm not really focusing on that anymore. And I think James is going to record a video of his own, where he talks about, where he's at. But I feel like I'm kind of letting people down, but at the same time, this is my real life. So if it's not for you, it's not for you, and I totally get it. But I don't want to force myself to continue following a diet that when I don't exactly believe in dieting anymore, just for hits on YouTube. Like that's not healthy. So, you know, that is what it is. And I feel like that was almost a little bit vague, but it's what I got for you guys. Like it is vague. Like I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm not worried about my actual weight. You know, there's plenty of science out there that will tell you that your weight and your size do not indicate your health. And that dieting for intentional weight loss is in the long run harmful. And it's just not something that I want to continue preaching about. Preaching. I don't know if preaching's the word. It's not something that I want to continue putting out there in the world. You know, like this is going to sound really, really ridiculous, but like as a nutritionist, as a person who has told multiple people on the internet that I have a master of science in nutrition, it feels irresponsible for me to ignore the knowledge that I have that intentional weight loss and dieting are harmful to your overall health and continue telling people to go on diets or telling them how great my diet is for me when I know it's not true. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And I hope that, you know, if you don't want to stick around for that kind of content, I hope that you've enjoyed your time here with us at Eating Our Asses Off. And if you do want to stick around for that kind of content, I hope that it's something that you will like. Leave comments in the videos and let me know if there's like questions that you have about intuitive eating. I will be happy to answer them the best that I can, either in the comments or like it might make for a great video. So I might be like, oh, let's, you know, I'll make a video about that and talk about that. But like, I would love for everyone to just like come along with me. And if you're someone who's struggling with sticking to low carb or keto, maybe this is something that could be very helpful to you. I don't know. But, yeah, I am excited to share more with you guys. I have said this a couple times now, but this time I really mean it because now I'm so free of all these things, school, that were looming over me that were just making it very hard to get into filming. That I want to just do some more lifestyle content. So, you know, we're going to get into that too. I think you guys might enjoy traveling with me for my job. I have to travel quite a bit. So we can talk about traveling for work. We can talk about living in 2 different places, living apart from my spouse, like all kinds of things, can be exciting to explore on this channel. I think we're going to keep the channel name the same, Eating Our Asses Off, but who knows, maybe we'll change it. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Just, you know, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I mean, maybe everybody hates this and nobody wants to watch this, in which case, let me know that too, because then I don't know what I'll do with that information, but but leave a comment down below, okay? How about that? All right, so if you liked this and if you are excited for more content like this, please hit the like button, leave a comment, hit subscribe, whatever, and I will see you guys in the next video.